This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, g'day folks, how you going? Hope you've had a pretty good sort of a Friday, and welcome to the Friday Night Free-for-All, which is a bit bereft of other people at this juncture. I've had a couple of folks pull out on me, which is okay, because we all have these parties we've got to go to at various different times. The Galactic Larrikins, well, one or two, or possibly 1 and 3 were going to join me, but no sign of them just yet. And I've got to be honest, I'm absolutely knackered. So we do have some good news on the gear front, though. This morning, I woke daughter up at the crack of well before dawn, and we hit the road and headed to Wagga, and we took the new equipment that we got through a company in Wagga called the Streaming Guys. Great guys. G'day to Ben. And went back there today to fix a keyboard that controls these new cameras. Turns out keyboard couldn't be fixed, so no problems with the Streaming Guys. Here's a new keyboard, so we've got that. It's just still sitting, well, packed up in a little box here beside me. So we're going to get it out tomorrow. As you appreciate, Wagga and back today. Had to do a little bit of sleep this afternoon. I haven't done too much else, if I'm honest. So it's been a bit of a drive. I have been trying to catch up a little bit on what's going on with Donald Trump in America. Now, you're seeing a lot of media at the moment, I think, trying to hook Donald Trump into a conversation about the vaccine. And part of that conversation that they are trying to hook him into is to get him to admit that he had something to do with the vaccine rollout. Now, he did have something to do with it. You might recall he went in and got a treatment. Now, you might also recall that he came out and said, "Do what I do. Go and get the shot I got." Now, that's key. Go and get the shot I got. That's not necessarily the shot everybody else has been handing out. So watch this space, I will say. But in the interviews that he's been, I've heard recently at any rate, they are trying to get him to sign on to the fact of the vaccine rollout. And of course, in Trump's time, there was no mandate. He wouldn't put a mandate on the American people to do such a thing. That took others, and we know how they got that. G'day Nari, Mount Gambier. What a great part of the world. I used to live in Hamilton many years ago, and I have some friends in Mount Gambier. Hello, Bugsy. Hello, the lovely Susie. Hello, Maddie Fry. If anybody knows Maddie, she ran as an A1 independent in the last federal election and did pretty well. Good on you, Maddie. I hope things are going well for you in Mount Gambier. We're trying to get a show in Mount Gambier. I've been saying I've got to get a hold of Bugsy and Susie. So, well, Susie will know that it's probably more I'm going to get a hold of her than Craig to organise this, maybe. Anyway, we'll see what happens. February is where we're looking at heading to South Australia. Cherie has details on that. Everybody seems to be hanging off me and Darren Bergwerf at the moment. Now, Alex is a man who lives in or around Byron Bay, and he wants us to come and do a show there before we go anywhere else. So I'll be heading back up that way next week. Alex, for whatever reason, I cannot find your phone number. I'll get it off Darren Bergwerf, but if you've got mine or email me, I'll get a hold of you and we'll put something together for the trip back up. We'll try and arrange it so that Darren Bergwerf can fly in and be part of that as well. I think that'd be fabulous. Showing what the Northern Rivers is about. We might even be able to go out and do, well, a couple of interesting little pieces to camera. We'll try and show people how the area is recovering after what's happened and essentially what may come back to us again next year. More bloody flooding coming on the way. Oh, speaking of, well, flooding. Flooding. Drove to Wagga today, as we said. We spoke last night about how green it all was on that bit of the Hume Highway only a couple of months ago. And I can tell you, it's not green anymore. There is still an element of green in some places, particularly if it's close to a river source or a riverbed. But for the most part, that beautiful, lush, long green grass is now long dead, dry grass. And there is a lot of it. So, yeah, certainly a lot of feed around and a lot of feed for fires. So please take care of that. Melissa's Freedom, can I unblock Michael Brown? He's been banned. Yeah, all right. I'll have a think. I don't know how I do that. I don't know which platform he's been banned on or by which mod. So I will ask the mods if they can tell me who Michael Brown is and whether they will unblock him. I don't know what he did to get blocked. Usually he must have got confused, said something weird. I don't know. Hello to Black Sheep. Black Sheep's in Tassie. Wonderful man. He has been very, very, very gracious in being a host when I was in Tasmania and took me around the place. We had a marvelous day at Port Arthur together. I'm going to speak longingly like this. Like it's a bit of a bromance. I've got to be honest. I like Black Sheep a lot. I like his tractor too. I think he likes any man who likes his tractor, just between you and me. But it's another story. So thank you, buddy. Thank you. Oh, well, further to the story from Bernie last night, speaking of Tassie and good things like that. Now, I've had a little bit of intel from people in Tasmania today suggesting that in the Bernie Devonport area that there has been a significant increase in police, but you really have to know what you're looking for. Apparently, these police are in a lot of very varied unmarked vehicles. They're dressed as tradies and all sorts of other bits and pieces, and they are in and around the communities doing work. So that's what I'm hearing. If you are not immediately seeing lots of uniformed Tasmanian police on the streets in those areas, it might be because they're not dressed in their uniforms and they're not driving cars that immediately stand out to be police vehicles. So that's what I'm hearing out of Tassie today. Good evening, Chriso. Mate, I should send you a link so you can pop in and have a chat. Everybody else has left me for dead, so give me a second. I'll probably do that. Yeah, the DOD was in charge of vax rollouts. There's also a very, very good story available for you to watch that shows the rollout of this pandemic began back in 2013 in Obama's time, and fingerprints are all over it. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to tell. Hello, Carla. What a lovely name. You're in Bali? Hey, I hope you're enjoying it. Well, I hope it's warmer there than it is in Canberra. Can I tell you, I was going to do something a little swish. I thought, oh, look, I'm in Canberra. Why don't I go and set up with this laptop and sit with the Parliament House in the background and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Well, it was going to look magnificent. It's like 7 degrees outside. All right, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it's bloody cold. When we got out of bed this morning and headed off to Wagga, it was 10 degrees, a decidedly ugly time for a Queenslander, I can tell you, especially only wearing a T-shirt and a pair of shorts. Anyway, it did warm up as we got to Wagga, but then cooled down again when we got back to Canberra. And yeah, parts of me went hard that I didn't know could when I investigated the idea of going and doing the show sitting on the edge of Lake Burley Griffin, looking, you know, with Old Parliament House over my shoulder or something like that. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm a Queenslander and I'm chicken, and it just goes to show how weak of a human being I am. I could never do what the Canberra Standers are doing. Well, I suppose you get acclimatized, but getting acclimatized is the issue. So my hat is tipped. I take my hat off. I take my shirt off. Well, actually, no, I'd put my shirt back on and maybe add a jacket to the Canberra Standers. I doff my hat to you. Speaking of people who are used to cold, we'll bring in a local. It's so nice to see a galactic larrikin joining us this evening. How are you, buddy?
G'day, mate. No, I didn't get the notification.
So,
I don't know what happened.
You didn't?
I eventually found it after you sent the text message. I was looking for it, and eventually, yes, I did find it.
Very good. I knew you'd get there eventually. And I'll take Carla off the screen up there. Hello, Sunflower. Lovely to see you in the room too. Peggy's in the
What happened to
room.
this afternoon, mate?
J1. Yeah, I had a good.
Did you
Well,
manage
I
to have a rest
didn't
of
have a
Sabo?
good sleep. Yeah, not a good one. I've been on the phone most of the afternoon since we got back from Wagga,
That's
and
surprising.
yeah, I had three hours there, 3 hours back. Nobody rang, but as soon as I get back to the room and I fall on the bed, the phone starts. So anyway, very worthwhile conversations, and there'll be more to talk about with that in the coming days and weeks. Of course, just before you joined in, I was talking about potentially going up to Byron Bay and doing a show there on, in the next week or so anyway. It'll be a very rushed show put together, or whenever we can get Darren Bergworth and myself relatively close in the same part of the state or two states, then we'll get into that. Absolutely. And I have informed our wonderful followers that the cameras work.
The cameras are working, yes, and even better, the joystick's working.
Well, that was the cameras always work. The joystick was the problem. So I didn't point out just how keen you are to play with the joystick.
Oh, I love playing with joysticks. They're great. Ever since I found my first Space Invaders game at the fish and chip shop when I was about 10 years old, I've had a fascination for joystick.
Was that a stand up or a sit down?
Stand up.
Oh yeah, real deal then.
Yep.
And
we progressed along. It went from a black and white one to a color one, and I think then we moved on to other games like Pac-Man and Frogger and.
So okay, were you a Pac-Man player? Because I wasn't a Pac-Maner. I was a Galaga guy.
Gallagher.
Yeah, there you go. Some other people call it Gallagher. I call it Galaga.
Galaga, whatever. Yeah, no, that was one of my favorites.
Asteroids. I was a big fan of Asteroids.
Yeah, in where I grew up in Townsville, we had a skate park that we used to go to every weekend because it was indoors and it was air conditioned, and it was not only a good place to go and talk to girls, but it was also a great place to just go and ball and video games, because it was just the whole wall was just taken up with a whole bank of different games. So you'd spend all your pocket money on all the video games each Saturday.
Yep. We used to have a fish and chip shop in the little town that I lived in Western Victoria called Jimmy's. And out the back of Jimmy's, he had this room beside the room that he used to gut the fish that he'd go and catch. And into that room, he put, I think it was like 2 pinball machines and 2 stand-up pennies, we used to call them, with Space Invaders on one and Asteroids on the other. And for 20 cents, you could have a game. Now, Jimmy hadn't realized, I don't think, that the tilt, remember the tilt function in a pinball machine. When you first get that pinball machine and you set it up in your house, you have to set that tilt function. Well, whoever had moved these into Jimmy's place had never bothered fixing that tilt function. So you could put your 20 cents in and get your 3 or 5 balls, I think it was in those days, for 20 cents. And if you were no good at pinball like me, you could grab and lift your end of the pinball table up and roll the ball wherever you liked, bouncing it off whatever you liked. And that's exactly what we did. We'd roll the thing over, get all these free games on 20 cents. Jimmy couldn't figure out why he wasn't making any money on the pinball. He eventually cut a little spy hole so he could keep an eye on what the kids were doing to his pinball machine. And it turns out we were just playing with the tilt, as it was.
Nice,
but
was.
Oh God,
it was always a fun art to just get the right amount of tilt. You could always give it a little bit, but if you pushed it too hard, then you'd get the.
No, well, this one was right off the scale. You couldn't shake it sideways, but you could practically lift the thing up vertically on its back and it wouldn't tilt. So as long as you just kept the thing balanced, like that, it was easy.
I love it.
Yeah. He hated us for it. Banned a few people. You're banned. Poor old Jimmy, God rest his soul. He went back to Greece for a family holiday, and did a favour for a friend next door, climbed under to do some work under a car, and the jack failed. The car dropped on him. So yeah, that wasn't not too flash. So Chris has just emailed me, sent me a message saying, "How do you want me to jump onto the show if I can't get onto the show?" Hang on, Chris, I'll send you the link, mate. There we go. Link sent. Expect Chris anytime soon. We are on YouTube, Chris, so you can't go and say all those things that you normally like to go and say with Bob. So I was just talking before you came on about Trump. I don't know if you've seen or heard the same things I did today. There seems to be a lot of media in America trying to get Trump to admit something about the vax rollout, trying to get him to take some form of responsibility for that. And I see this as a potential setup for their next phase when they're going to start, turning 180 degrees and start saying exactly what damages may have been created by this and blame Trump. Do you get this, or have you seen anything like that today? Have you been watching anything like that today?
No, mate, I haven't at all. I've just been doing other things today.
Right.
That's interesting, though. That's interesting. And does he deserve some of the blame? I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one. It really is. He's, this whole warp speed thing, and is he responsible for a lot of these deaths that are starting to happen now? If we can say that, probably shouldn't say too much, but we're on YouTube. But
well, I don't know how he can be responsible for it. The operation that he started, I actually believe they discovered what the plan was and how the pandemic was expected to roll out, and they needed to get ahead of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, looking from a sort of a Q perspective, it was maybe a lesser of two evils that he chose. It's never easy in war, is it, to know that you've got to make a choice, and both choices involve people dying, but this choice, maybe less people are going to die, or more people are going to wake up, or mate, it's very hard to know. It really is.
Well, that first jab that the warp speed jab that they rolled out, I'm led to believe was, for the most part, saline. Nothing hard. And that has extended then the pandemic schedule, because not enough people obviously got, and not everybody obviously got the warp speed thing. So some people did get bad batches, but we know that really the bad batches, or what we are calling the bad batches, if you like, only started to really materialize after round 2. And now we're into round 3, and they've become even more prevalent. They're exposing the issues. So I actually think he did what he could. And when he says he saved, some people are saying he saved 100 million people. Well, that might well be the case. It might not be either. So
it could be.
But I'm more.
At the same time, there are going to be a lot of people who. Dropping out. Sorry, I think we've got a bad connection. I'm actually downloading. I might just go and stop downloading it, and that might help. I'm back in 2 seconds.
Right. Got a new movie channel he's starting up at home, so he's obviously stocking up. And Chris, I've sent you a link in Messenger, so you should be able to get that from there, I'm hoping. You can pop in whenever you like.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just
easier.
That might help a bit better. Yeah.
Yes, it'll make your face catch up with your words a bit better.
Yeah, I can see it's improved already. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, mate. It really is. I mean, there are going to be people who are going to be pissed off with Trump because he was the one who, got this injection out that is now hurting people. Let's just say. And I think that's the people who probably will blame him, and he may end up being some kind of scapegoat. I don't know. It's a tough one, mate. This movie that we're living in right now is full of twists and turns that none of us can really predict. Hasn't it? Yeah.
Jacinda Ardern's. I mean, we tried twice or three times last night to try and talk about that and never got far into it. Obviously, the people of New Zealand, or at least the vocal ones, are extremely happy at this announcement. So much so today that obviously the left protectors the left protectors have come out today saying, "Oh, it's awful the way that you're talking about her," and "Ding dong, the witch is gone," and signs like that all over the place. Is that the right way that people should feel if they've got? Well, they haven't been able to get rid of her. I suppose they have, in a way, the pressure that she feels and the stress that she's under. Clearly, the criticisms that she's faced in the last couple of years have got to her. Should the people of New Zealand who are crowing at her demise at the moment feel any shame or guilt?
No, celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the resignations that we were told were going to happen. We're also going to be told that there are a lot of politicians that won't be going to be seeking re-election.
Yeah, and that is specific language we're talking there, isn't it?
That's the exact term. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
not
so,
seeking re-election.
Yeah, if you hear a politician, and if I haven't got it, but if you watch her when she gets to that line, she chokes up.
She does,
now,
yeah.
Is she choking up because it's, oh, well, I'm not going to be Prime Minister anymore? It didn't look like that to me. It looked like she was reading from the judge's script and here endeth the lesson.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
This is exactly what I have to say. Got to the end of it, and that was that. Yeah, I thought she looked a bit weird. Now, look out. Chris Starseed's joined us. Here he is. He's happy about that. Hello, buddy. How are you? I have to say. Oh, you're gonna need to turn your lagging thing off, mate. I don't know what you're watching, but you are miles behind us, and I'm gonna pull him out.
Weird.
Change all that. Yeah,
that was a bit.
Yeah, he's. I think he's watching something on the television and plugged into something else. So try and fix that up, Chris. And you might have to go back out and come back in again, and we'll see what happens. And I'm looking at him in the green room. He might actually have to go and put your glasses on too. He doesn't like showing his glasses. I think he has one of those, I look older if I'm wearing glasses kind of things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm the same. I don't know when my.
Yeah. So what's going on with Canberra weather? Here we are, middle of summer, and this morning it was 10 degrees.
Yeah, we've had summer. That was it. We had it last week. It was about 2 days, wasn't it? 2 or 3 days, about 30 degrees, and that was it. Mate,
okay.
There's some weird things going on with the weather. All right. I was sort of there would be global warming, but I'm very afraid that there could actually be global cooling, which is a lot worse.
Yeah.
A lot worse than global warming.
Evening, Tanya. Nice to see you in.
Rising temperatures.
Nice to have you in. Glad to see you. John, you're quite right. They probably will only select another tyrant. I just don't think they were expecting to have to select one so soon. And that's where you occasionally see them doing a little bit of a dance because they may not have fully prepared the next tyrant they wish to install. So that's where it can be a bit fun. Hang on, he's back. Have we got you with this time round without like 7 minutes of lag?
Yeah, mate. I think we got it right this time.
That's okay. Done well. How are you? How's your week been, Chris?
Been pretty flat strap, eh? It's been pretty flat strap. Even the influx of the CMEs that have been coming in from the sun have been kicking my ass.
Okay, so you better explain to me what a CME is and why is the sun sending it to us?
Coronal mass ejections from the sun. Pretty much that interfere with pretty much most electrical equipment, electromagnetic fields, including the bioelectric magnetic field around our bodies.
Why didn't you say? What you could have told me this was coming a week ago. You could have saved me a week in Canberra with a machine that wasn't going to work. Just say, no, your CME is going to screw up your machine. Just go straight to Wagga and get a new one.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I wish I had that foresight. I wish I had that foresight.
The sun's going crazy at the moment, isn't it? There's sunspots popping up.
There's apparently 15 visible on the sun at the moment.
We're in a 15. It's incredible. It's
15 sunspots.
What are they called?
15 sunspots. Right. Is that unusual?
Indeed.
Pardon my ignorance.
Do you want to make
usually, it's only usually 1 or 2 to 3 at the most at any one time, or not at one time, but coming and going. But 15 at one time, very highly unusual. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, we've had a change. Evening, Robert.
Change. Yep. It's a deep fake though. It's not really me. Cool. This is not me. This is a deep.
Well, clearly, because it's wearing a uniform, giving the idea that the deep fake is going.
You don't want me that much.
No. Clearly, you're too much for ASIO, mate. They've stopped you. You keep jamming up.
Now Neo's as well. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Neo, the wonder dog, always likes to make an appearance.
All right. Catch you guys. Thanks, trendsetters.
See you, buddy. Go back, grab a coffee, hit the road again. Now I don't know. There you go. Larrikins are having a bit of a hard night tonight with their connection.
Yeah, the connection.
Yeah, no fun at all. So anyway, where were we? What were we talking about? What's landed in your backyard this week? Any strange triangular clouds or anything else?
Not this week. I have been keeping an eye out though. There has been a lot of sky activity, like very strange. Even a few friends in Western Australia and South Australia all been saying the same things. Very strange looking sky clouds, very straight lines, no curves to them and things like that. Just a lot of straight lines, like not straight lines like we know as contrails and chemtrails and such, but straight lines within the clouds. And Mother Nature, we know, just does not make clouds with straight lines. So
yes,
there's been a little bit of activity up there.
Very definitely doesn't happen.
Pieces of the, I believe the final chess pieces are moving into their places right now.
I think that's the whole Inter-Ardern thing, isn't it? I think it's just another big piece of the puzzle that's been swept off the board.
Yeah, I believe these were actually, you were correct with what you were saying before, because from what I understand, one of the cue drops myself and Bob were talking about earlier was exactly the words that she said in her final speech are exactly the words that, Mr. 17 put into one of their posts prior about probably a year and a half to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was word for word exactly, which proves future proves past once again, which obviously means they've utilised in order to be able to put this information out.
So I've had an interesting concept put to me about why some people see what's going on and some people don't. Some of the most vehement haters of our movement, at any rate, are some of the most highly educated people in the country. And that makes arguing against them in a multi or mainstream media sense a little difficult, unless you can box them in an argument, which, their logic will, a logic trap, if you like, that will have them either admit that everything they've been working for all their life is wrong, or that they're lying. So consequently, the way that it was sort of explained to me is that those of us that think like we do, that have a more open mind, have different makeup at a genetic level. Yeah? So you've heard about this?
Yes. That is
Can you
true.
explain it better than me then? Because it really sort of blew me away. I'm doing my Dr. Evil finger bit here at the minute.
Well, most of us, as we're all born, We're all very much equal. Okay, we're operating on very much the same sort of frequency level. We're operating at the same sort of brainwave capacity to a degree, but there are also certain things that we've had blocked within our DNA now, due to trauma, things that we face in our life, people, places, things, obstacles, etc., addictions even as well. That trauma builds up, which also will stop and inhibit you from or actually operating at a higher frequency. Now, the more we face our fears, our actual dark side, shadow work as such, and actually going within, you actually go and actually raise your frequency to a degree, because that's when you're not living in that operative fear level, that fight or flight mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So by operating at a higher frequency, it allows the telomeres between the DNA, or the codons between the telomeres that are between the codons of your DNA, to basically be the blocks taken away, which allows extra information to send those electrical signals, turning on your DNA. Okay, and basically at the genetic level, yes, at that point in time, once you are operating at a higher frequency and opening up those telomeres and the extra bioelectric activity happening between the DNA and the extra information getting through, you are actually at a genetic level operating higher than a normal human being would be. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I had breakfast with Spiro about a week ago.
As well. That's also a consciousness thing that it's attached to that as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I had breakfast with Spiros about a week ago, and during that conversation, he raised a very good point about law. His point was that laws are written by the people for the people. Now, we hear that statement a lot, but do we actually understand what it means? Laws are written by the people for the people. So do we think that that means the laws are written by the people in the sense, or for the people in the sense that they are just laws and they're for the people? Or, and this is where language is important, and this is where words mean things. This is how language has been used against us. The word for, in the sense of when that particular saying was written, the meaning of the word for has been changed. Because back in the day when that particular saying, we the people, the laws are written by we the people for the people, it doesn't mean we're writing laws for ourselves. It means the for part of that means to the advancement or to the betterment of the people.
That's right.
So
for us.
They're in our favor. The laws are in our favor. So
exactly.
Why do we allow government to make laws not in our favor? The favor of the people.
Ignorance and trusting big brother.
To a degree.
Yes, this is the biggest problem. This is the biggest. Yeah, this is the problem that's the thing that we're going to have come up is that we have trusted the government and we've trusted authority way more than we should have. And because of that, that authority has taken advantage of us. Because unfortunately, the good guys aren't the ones who are running this place.
Unfortunately not. And this is an argument that I think we are finding more and more in the common law side of things. It's all well and good for us to have our common law positions. It doesn't matter which version of common law, and there really is only one version of common law. We all just have to get back to the starting point, which is 1215, Magna Carta 1215. That is the starting point of common law. And if you want to argue different, I'm happy to have you on the show. But we need to get back to at least a common point where common law proponents are all on the same page and not, as Ricardo puts it, couldn't agree on the color of an orange. So that is only detrimental to the movement. That is only divisive to the movement. I don't think we need that kind of division, but we do need an enforcement arm for common law proponents if common law is ever going to have a way forward here. How do we enforce the will of the people over the tyrants if the tyrants are the enforcement arm or have control of it? So until a common law group come to me, come to anyone, any one of us, and explain how this can work, I fail to see what going to court and arguing a common law argument, and I'm thinking, I guess in part about what happened yesterday in Coffs Harbour, where the cops smashed the window, took the lady out of the car because she didn't want to identify herself and didn't have registration, didn't have a license. All of those things that she said and that you heard the fella in the car say are absolutely true.
Yep.
Right? There is no law, right? They cannot charge you for registration, but the fact is they have other laws in place about accidents and insurance and all that kind of stuff where they'll get you on that. So I take my hat off to those folks that wish to be sovereign and drive around with sovereign plates and do all that sort of stuff. That's great. But you can see that the enforcement arm that the tyrants have control of are now ramping up their opposition to any common law argument, because somewhere in the background, they've been emboldened. They've been told, we got your back. They've been told, just do whatever you got to do, because these bastards will never get control of a court. We will never face a common law trial by jury. Just crush them.
And this is what's been happening in Canberra with all these the guys who've been arrested. They've never got to court. If they have got to court, it's all been dismissed. You know, I think there's been one that's actually gone through, and that's it. So yeah, you're right. And even I think someone overheard these cops talking one day, and they were saying basically that just make stuff up. That was one of the terms they had. I can't remember. There was some acronym or whatever it was, but basically their whole idea was, just make something up to get them in the paddy wagon and get them out of here, and then they'll let them out of the paddy wagon 100 meters up the road half an hour later when it's all. That's
exactly right. Yeah.
I mean,
I've actually seen that happen in Queensland. Seen it happen. They literally take them 2 blocks away and let them out.
Yeah, well, we saw it happen at the Governor General's that night when they were arresting everyone, and all they did was just let them out. Once everyone had left, they just let them out of the paddy wagons and let them go. Too much paperwork, and they know that they don't have a foot to stand on.
No.
Yeah,
if only we had the Second Amendment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, don't go saying that too loud. You'll have people turning up at your doorstep in Upper Come Back to West or wherever you live. Yeah. And you know what happens? You know what happens to people in Western Queensland when the police turn up on the doorstep?
Yeah. Not good stuff, that's for sure.
Nothing good.
Good, mate.
And this is the problem. They've still got guns, no matter if they're in the wrong and they're not doing something illegal. They've still got guns.
That's right. So, they are the enforcement arm that is being paid by the tyrants. And most of these enforcement arm agents have no concept of what they're doing. I think what Fitz is dead. And by all means, please go on the VoFHQ.com website, have a look on the Magna Carta page. I think Fitz has loaded up the list of things that you should or shouldn't, things that you should ask or should say when you're approached in that kind of a situation. You don't start denying them things, you ask them questions before you comply. And if they can't answer the questions, then, filming it, you're probably going to still get the same result, in all honesty. They're still going to smash the window and drag you out of the car. But you will have it on tape. And when we do, not if, but when we do get control of our courts again, those people will be brought to justice. They'll be brought in front of a jury of your peers. And next up, a bit of advice to anybody if you happen to be going to court. Now, who told you that you couldn't have a jury trial? Okay? It is your right to have a jury trial. You can walk into the judge, don't listen to anything they tell you. Tell them you want a trial in front of a jury of your peers. You do not want a judge-only trial, because that makes the judge also the jury and the executioner. You are laying straight into their hands. Of course, your lawyer will tell you, it's better to do it this way. I can have a bit of a quiet one with the judge, and it'll be cheaper for you in the long run. It'll be cheaper for everybody. The court likes it when you go this way because, you're not putting lots of people out. They don't have to go through a whole jury selection process and put out all these people. Bullshit.
Collusion.
Bullshit.
Yep.
Ask for your jury trial.
It's your right.
Particularly on a petty matter. Now, this leads me to an email that I got today, resent through Cherie, if memory serves, about a lady, an 80-plus-year-old lady in Queensland who has recently had a fall and hurt her shoulder, or had recently hurt her shoulder. Police pulled her over while driving the car and gave her something like a $1,200 fine. And I guess that's going to be 3 or 4 points off her license because she was wearing her seatbelt incorrectly. Instead of going over her broken shoulder, she had it going under her arm. 80 plus years of age, and they've banged her with a $1,200 fine.
How ridiculous.
Because she was not wearing her seatbelt correctly. Now, I've been asked to try and find some legal help for her in Queensland. No, I don't hang around with lawyers. Well, Spiros, is the exception, and he's not a lawyer. So I don't have access to lawyers that I can say, ring this bloke and he'll give you some free advice. Let me give you some free advice. Go to court. Take that to court. Do not walk into the magistrate and say, I'll abide by your decision. Say, I want a jury trial. And I guarantee you, in a jury trial, it requires all 12 people to think you are guilty of that heinous crime of not wearing your seatbelt correctly because you had a broken shoulder. I guarantee you at least one person on that jury is going to say, you're not guilty of any crime.
Exactly.
This is a victimless crime, You are an 80-plus-year-old woman, responsible enough to know that wearing the seatbelt the correct way is optimal, but also 80-plus years old, able to understand and take responsibility for the decision to wear it under your armpit, which might break a few more ribs if you have a car crash at 80-plus years of age. But if the car crash doesn't kill you, a fucking heart attack when you have the car crash probably will. So I'd be taking the lesser of two evils and putting it under the thing and explaining that to the jury. Yeah. And there is not a jury on earth that is going to convict you of the heinous crime of wearing your seatbelt incorrectly because you had a broken shoulder.
That's right.
So
Never.
that would be my advice. And now there are advocates. If you're not able to take this and present this sort of argument yourself in court, you can get a Mackenzie's friend, or maybe you can find a solicitor who will argue this for you and who will say, we want this in front of a jury. Thank you. But I'm not sure where in Queensland you live, but if it's on the Gold Coast, I sincerely doubt you're going to find a lawyer who's going to stand up and do that. I mean, the thing about lawyers is they've all passed the bar, right? Have you ever wondered why the Americans have to pass the bar? Why the Australian lawyers have to pass the bar? Why the British lawyer? Well, every bloody lawyer has to pass the bar. Do you know what the bar is?
Got to be in the club, mate.
The British Accreditation Registry.
That's right.
That means you're in the club.
Yep. That's right.
Right?
And they have to do what they're told.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are those that refuse to drink the blood, attend the sacrifice, and move up. And without putting words in his mouth, I've got a sneaking suspicion that Spiros may be one of those types who's cracked the door open, seen the other side, and said, "Nah, not for me. I'm going the other way," and got out of the law and went and did something else for 20 years. So,
there's also a thing called jury nullification. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah, well, it's a pity Spiros isn't here tonight. It'd be good to ask him a bit about it. But the jury does have the power to nullify a bad law. If there's a law that's bad, they can nullify it. Yeah, it'd be interesting to learn a bit more about it, but I have heard of it.
Certainly would. And how to get that applied if you are on a jury that discovers a bad law. I know that certainly is part of trial by jury. In fact, it's incumbent upon the jury members to bring the law that brought the person before them. If they find that person not guilty of that crime, it's incumbent upon the jury to then look at the law that brought that person before them. And if it's a stupid law or a ridiculous one, draw a line through it and move on. No more stupid, ridiculous law.
Can't do that anymore.
Don't waste the people's time by, bringing that shit up.
Yeah, and like you say, with the example of the underarm seatbelt, you could go to trial and the jury could get to that and say, hang on, this is a ridiculous law. Why is there a law that says you've got to have it over your shoulder? That's stupid. Let's nullify that law, and then the law's no more. So
where is the responsibility? Does the responsibility rest with the driver of the car or the person who chooses to miswear the seatbelt? And I'm excluding children here. I'm only talking about adults. Where does the responsibility lie if they were to miswear the seatbelt in this way, put it around or under their arm, and they have an accident? A lot of these laws brought in for our self-protection in cars and whatnot are because of first responders and the trauma that they suffer when they get to an accident scene and find what they find. Therefore, ways have been designed to have the people comply with certain physics requirements that would happen in a car unknowingly. So wearing a seatbelt, you think it's just going to stop you slamming forward and getting thrown out of the windscreen of the car, and that's certainly one of its primary functions. But by miswearing the seatbelt, you take responsibility for the fact that I might submarine out of my seatbelt now and wind up face first buried in the footwell, or I might come out of the seatbelt now because it's not over my shoulder, it's under it. So I've really only got the lap sash holding me in. At the end of the day, it's going to be your face going through the glass first, your face hitting the bitumen first, your body rolling along the road. If you're prepared to take that risk, and I dare say that this lady at 80 plus years of age was prepared to take that risk and wear that responsibility to, in respect of gaining some comfort, some level of comfort, by removing the seatbelt from where her broken shoulder was and putting it under her arm.
And maybe kept a little bit extra distance just so to make sure that there's no risk of having an accident,
Once again, taking responsibility for yourself. I mean, you can't take responsibility for the numptard dickhead who comes and T-bones you because they've driven through a red light. All you can do is check the car there isn't anything coming when you cross, and if he's doing 1,000,000 miles an hour and sails into the intersection and kills you, well, yeah, bad. But it wasn't any fault of yours. That does that, just your time, I guess, if that kind of thing happens. Yeah. So, I just thought that was a interesting thing that's going forward.
A lot of laws like that are not needed. It's just extra bureaucracy. It's just more fines, more revenue raising, and not necessarily safety. Things like speed bumps. Speed bumps actually cause accidents, cause more accidents than apparently. Yeah.
And they are also the highest cause of worn-out suspension struts, particularly the metal square speed humps. You know those. They are
Yeah.
usually made out of metal, not cement, and
Yeah.
they are violent. When your
Oh, yes.
tires hit them, they are violent. Doesn't matter what speed, they are violent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those ones. I was talking to a guy who works at a suspension and tire place, and he says their business has gone through the roof with replacing suspension struts.
So do you
That
think it could be a conspiracy where the suspension sellers are paying off the government to put down more speed bumps?
or just not to patch the roads and leave the bloody great holes in the roads, and that has exactly the same result. So, yeah, bastards.
Oh, mate, everywhere you look.
Yeah.
All the while, still lining the pockets of the people that are making the actual suspension springs as well, because it's all hand in hand too. There,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a
more springs, more money for them. Make the speed pumps not designed that that are designed to create the cracks or the the breaks in these springs.
Yep.
All hand in hand.
And you know another one,
sorry,
another little conspiracy theory of mine is traffic lights and red lights, and the petrol companies paying the governments to install more and more red lights, so that more and more people just sit there wasting petrol for minutes on end. You think about the millions of cars that are just sitting there where they don't need to. There's no cars coming. They could quite easily just go across the road, but they don't, because they got this indoctrinated red light there telling them that they're not allowed to move.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
I don't know that. I mean, that's a deep thought with the petrol companies. And to be honest, I didn't see that level of tinfoil in your house.
Oh, mate, I'm always looking for stuff.
I believe his tinfoil hat has turned into a crown of knowledge there, Carl.
Yeah, that's it. Over the years.
Yeah, well, look, okay, I can sort of see that, and I can understand why the petrol companies might do that. But what about 15-minute cities? That's going to screw up the whole wait, and that's your traffic light plan.
Yeah, well, this was before. I mean, we've had red lights for ages.
Very true.
15 minutes. This happened 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, you know what it'll be with 15-minute cities. It won't be traffic lights. It'll be pedestrian crossings.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be.
And distracted as much as they can, and
keep
materialism and consumerism going as best as they can too.
Yep. As long as you can beat a path to your local Westfield shopping centre, which will be downsized and take over your local strip mall.
It'll be home delivery.
With home delivery, you won't even have to go out. Because you won't want to, because now apparently the latest move from the group of fucktards at Davos is climate lockdowns. They're going to lock us down because, the carbon footprint you're putting out is far too heavy. We need the Earth to recover. And look what it did during those 2 years of pandemic lockdown. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock you all down to help the Earth again.
They'll use it to justify
their plan.
It was pretty cool how there is no pollution in all the cities. That was pretty cool.
Look, I'm not saying it's not a good plan, but
just for the wrong reasons.
It's just for the wrong reasons. And if they weren't hiding so much technology from us, there wouldn't be the levels of pollution in the cities that there are, because we wouldn't be driving around in using internal combustion engines invented 120 years ago.
That's right.
And have not advanced much in technology since. Because it's been hidden from us. I watched a video. I haven't cut it yet to get it into this system, but I watched a video the other day that's showing world's fairs back in the 50s and then prior to
the 30s and the 20s.
With technology, electromagnetic technology. Think of the scooter kind of thing you got to push around with your feet today. Think of that without any wheels. And able to be blown. Plenty of them. Have a look at
far off the ground, apparently. That far off
Yeah.
the ground, electromagnetic gravitics, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's
Probable
lots
in
of
the sense.
evidence that this technology has been here before. The infrastructure is still in our cities. They reckon that the what do they call it? The High
Sorry.
Line in Chicago. There's a train line that sort of goes around through all the buildings. I think it's called the High Line somewhere. in the world.
The elevation. It's called the
Oh,
L.
the elevation.
Yep.
Right. So they reckon the L is part of this old technology, and it's been disguised and turned into a train line.
It has.
So
I've seen the footage of it. Of it. Yeah, completely unbelievable footage. Like, you look at what we've got today, and it's like a step backwards, mate.
yeah, we are in the dark ages.
Yeah, virtually. Yeah. And what we were told with the dark age was probably dark ages back then was actually probably the prime of still where we were still using some of this technology before it was suppressed and taken away from us.
Yeah.
All reversing.
Thanks for reminding me. Hit the like button, folks, and subscribe if you haven't done already. I'm trying to scare YouTube. We might get them to scare up another 100 subscribers out of them before the end of this year. In the last half of last year, I gained 300, so let's say 500 subscribers, and in the last 6 months of last year. So they are hammering this site unbelievably hard. I like to jam it up on occasionally. So hit the like button, folks, and share it if you can. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. You'll probably get a message, and this is the test. I hear more and more from people. When they do try and subscribe to the Voice of Freedom, they get a message back that says, this is children's content, which is better than children's porn, I've got to admit. Or we cannot subscribe you to this channel at this time, or this channel is no longer taking subscriptions.
That's really weird.
Yeah, they're the sorts of messages that people are getting when they try and subscribe. So, and look, subscriber numbers for me are not what this is about. I know there are many others in the business who live and die by numbers, but I've never been that kind of a person. I like to build a family, and we seem to have built a family. If our family is, 3 people big, or 3,000, or 30,000, or 300,000, I'm all for it. Size doesn't matter, and I've heard that all my life. Size doesn't matter. So,
but we do want to grow this movement, and so we would like everyone to get out there and share and do all the things that need to be done on social media to help grow this movement. Because otherwise, it's going to take a lot longer until we get all those med beds and everything.
Yeah. So I heard too a little thing about med beds, in that there is technology available now that is along the lines of med bed technology, or at least frequency healing. We saw, I think, you showed me the video. I think, Bradford.
Those screens.
These screens, they're like TV screens that have got a really bad test pattern on them.
Yeah.
They put their frequency, a light frequency and a pattern frequency. And apparently these rooms that you can sit in filled with these screens, and there are some rooms where you're surrounded by them. What'd you say, Brad? There's like 26 or something.
Some of them they're usually 4, 8, 16, 24, and I think even 48. There's a 48, couple of rooms.
Right. And you just sit in this room, or sleep in the room overnight?
That's what. Yeah, if you're really sick, then you'd go there and you'd sleep there overnight. But other people have just got, less minor sort of ailments. Just go in there for like an hour and come out of there feeling fantastic.
Yeah,
they're definitely onto something there.
Yeah.
Well, there's one in Noosa. I think there's one on the Gold Coast and one in Sydney at the moment. But we'll look into that. In fact, there is a lovely lady on the Gold Coast that I'm going to call and see whether or not she knows anything about this. She used to, in fact, still is, as far as I'm aware, involved in the natural healings of life. So she would be very attuned to this kind of equipment if it was available. So I'll see whether or not she knows anything about it and would like to come on and have a bit of a chat and try and explain that to us. I think that'd be great. So,
I was actually going to say, I was actually going to say, if I could just expand on that just for a moment. Was it you that I sent the documentary to called The Grounded?
yes,
I've seen that. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah,
that is great. Absolutely.
I've
Now,
started.
I can highly recommend everyone that's watching tonight, please go and have a look at the Grounded documentary. It's called The Grounded Movie on YouTube. And I can tell you now, you will see nothing short of miracles, like myself and Carl have all seen. Okay, I can tell you now, mate, like that is the bomb right there. And I was going to say also, if at any point that anyone wants to go and actually make themselves their own personal homemade grounding mat, get it, and actually you can actually make it from Secura Mesh steel, an old electrical cord, like an extension cord, and go and getting yourself from Bunnings a replacement 3-pronged plug. Now, we bring the ground from the outside of the house in so that we have electrical grounding. Now, with the plug, normally you'll have to hook up all 3 wires so that you've got an electrical signal going through your house, right, through that cord. What they highly recommend is that you don't plug all the wires into the 2 top wires, only plug it into the bottom one, which is your ground. And by doing so, and attaching the other end of it to your Secura Mesh mat, and exposing copper wire, soldering it to it, and then actually zip tying the rest of the cord that's actually on the the steel mat as well, zip tying it to it, soldering it all together, you're actually grounding directly from outside inside at your feet whilst you're at your at your seat.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Or you could even just take a wire and outside with a grounding rod and just shove it in the earth itself if you wanted to.
Well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, anyone that has sleep apnea as well. Anyone that has sleep apnea, I highly recommend using grounding of any sort. I mean, sheets are available now that have fine fibers of metal that run through them, where they're actually hooked up directly to a 240-volt power supply in your wall, but it's only the bottom plug that's actually getting the ground from the outside.
Yeah,
that's bringing it in and directly putting that current through your sheet so that you are sleeping grounded all night as well. So you're basically doubling your healing whilst you're asleep, because our body heals twice the normal rate it does when we're asleep and what we do when we're awake. So raising the optimal frequency of your healing whilst you're asleep through grounding will fourfold.
Wow. Okay.
So there's always different ways. Like the Native Americans, all tribal people and cultural nations around the planet, from every nation and culture and island, they knew about this for thousands of years. I mean, they, as I said, Native Americans used to walk around with moccasins. Now, moccasins are made of leather, primarily at the bottom, taken from the skin or cowhide, as such, which is a natural element. Excuse me, a natural material that allows you to have the free flowing of electrons. Yes, there we go. That's the book.
Yeah, so it's all.
That's
all
the
about
book.
Grounding your feet. That's right. Yeah, no, I know all about it. It's awesome, isn't it?
Barefoot is the best way.
And they've even got shoes now that like it goes through the shoe so you can ground your feet.
They have magnets put into them, earthing magnets that are actually inserted into the EVA foam. Because I used to work in sports shoes, and I've now found that even in the documentary they were showing us that they had women's slip-ons and things like that, and thongs. Yeah, so they're probably obviously moving into sports shoes now.
JJ wants to know if it's okay to go out and ground when there's lightning around.
No. I wouldn't recommend it during lightning storm, no. But afterwards, the free photons and electrons that are flowing up from the earth through the grass, walk out straight after that. Depending if you actually also have a skin irritation, I wouldn't recommend going out in the grass. But if you don't, and it's freshly rained outside, and there's beautiful sunshine as well, the photons and electrons and the free radicals coming up through the earth, flowing with that frequency that operates through your frequency, brings you at a more optimized level of operation.
Yeah, cool. G'day, John. Are we allowed to say g'day? You're in Colorado. Do you understand that? We don't throw shrimps on the barbie. We throw prawns. But lovely to have you from Colorado, where I dare say it's just about as cold as it is in Canberra. Probably got a little bit more snow.
Yep. I got a friend up in Wisconsin. I got a friend that's in Wisconsin tonight that's actually tuning in.
Yeah,
wonderful. Gee, we've got a great American audience. That must be. We looked at the analytics the other day. I have an American audience of what was it, Brad?
I think both of them are watching tonight.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Yeah. Hey, listen, Galactic 3 has turned up with a mouthful, no less. Are you sharing? There's a rule. You don't come on eating unless you're sharing.
What are you having?
You want some chips?
Oh, chips. Mate, have you seen the size of me? What a stupid question.
Mate, it's eating bloody dinner.
Yeah, no. I always get the leg just when I'm cooking dinner.
Oh, no. That's difficult. Oh, well.
Hey, he's been.
Yeah, good, mate. So obviously you didn't work too hard today when the lawns were still wet.
Yes, had a day off with all the rain.
Yeah.
No fun at all. So we're just talking about frequency and grounding and all those sorts of things. SW's got something here for us. Frequency plates can take out the dastardly chemicals in our water and food. I would actually believe, in fact, I wonder how we would test frequency taking shit out of water. Unless we're doing it like the electrolysis way, and we know it certainly takes that shit out of the water. Actually, Bradford, you've seen the water test results in your hand.
Yeah.
They're in one of my briefcases, which is still on your floor there somewhere. What was your thoughts? You know, I think it's to your left, the briefcase to your left, the large one, or it might be the thin one, hiding behind the case there. They're in there.
I thought they were on the kitchen bench.
Oh, well, I cleaned up yesterday before, going to Wagga because I didn't want to leave crap all over your house.
Oh, anyway. Yeah, it was pretty gross. But, it's mineral water, which was the Sal Pellegrino one, whichever one. That one was the one that had the most in it, and that was a mineral water. So I guess you'd expect a lot of minerals and stuff to be in mineral water. But the one I was a bit disturbed about was the one that had been filtered.
Yeah.
The filtered one, which, I'm a bit concerned about because I filter my water. And I thought that'd fix it, but maybe it doesn't.
No, well, we have nanotechnology. They use the technology called nano encapsulation technology. And so they can put something of a nano size in a water molecule. And only when the water molecule breaks down in the body of whatever's drunk it does the molecule split or release what it has inside it. And in this way, they are adding 1 or 2 small nano bits at a time, I guess, in every molecule of water, this shit to our bodies. And it's metallic. I mean, I'm not joking.
It was metallic. It was magnetic. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, sorry, magnetic.
I've actually got a photo. I wish I was on my laptop upstairs right now. I actually got a photo of a group called Hitachi back in the 1980s. It was very popular for a while, but they went underground from what I understand. But this actual thing is what I'm looking at in this photo is called smart dust. And it's made by Hitachi, and it's only a micron across wide and a micron across that way. And looking at this thing, you'd think it's just a piece of dust, but it's metallic, as you said, and it's a transmitter, or it's a receiver, and they were able to put it into almost virtually anything that we're actually eating today or drinking. They can even spray it from the sky, it can soak through your skin, anything,
There are so many great grounding ideas coming up in the chat. You just need a copper wire running from the ground outside to your bare skin, like a toe loop. Just stick it over your big toe when you go to bed.
Yep.
You can even get that magnetic, that metallic tape, sticky tape.
Somebody else said that they know somebody who sticks metallic tape over their bed.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
But
you can do it for free.
But it's interesting, isn't it, that we're seeing this influx of new frequency healing opportunities. The iTerra wands. Now, that's the only thing I've had any I've had one experience with an iTerra wand, and look, it worked for me. I don't know that it was meant to work after one go. Might have been psychosomatic, but the fact was, I had a bloody sore foot, and it had been bloody sore for a week or more. I gave the iTerra wand a go, about 15 minutes. The next day, all bar the slightest pain gone from the foot, and I haven't had it back. I haven't had any pain from the day after that onwards. So I have to say there is something in that. And Bradford, you have recently become, your mum's got one, the lovely Jan. So you've had an experience with it?
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Yeah, I haven't used it as much as I should, but I have, I guess you'd say, a feeling of well-being would be the easiest way to describe it. Just a general sense of feeling better. That's all. Like, didn't really take away any pain, but I don't think I was using it for long enough. I was sort of just going for a minute here, a minute there, and just sort of going around my body, just doing a minute on each sort of area.
Yep.
And didn't sort of concentrate it in one area like you did. So I think next time I might try tomorrow and just focus it right on my back and see if that.
Well, I'll do yours if you'll do mine.
Yeah, no worries.
I was amazed at the success rate that's come from it. I just g'day to my mate Len, who introduced me to the iTerra wand, and to Di and Ron in Harvey Bay. We took Len up to Harvey Bay when we went up there last time, and he gave a talk on the iTerra wand. I think Harvey Bay now probably has 7 or 8 of them within the town boundaries. Some people have had an experience where it didn't work for them, and that's fine. Nobody's telling you you've got to go and buy one, and I'm certainly not getting any deal on them, so don't think that. But it's interesting. I'm just saying that there's this new influx of new technology, the iTerra wands. There's these screens that we've discussed. There are a lot of other frequency healing things that are coming to the fore now. We're seeing on social media and all that sort of stuff. So why is that happening, Chris? Has that got something to do with your sunspots as well?
Not so much the sunspots. I think it's just more so the fact that what has been suppressed and the fact that 7,000 patents have been released, and since Mr. T was in office, and now those patents, these guys are scrambling like mad to do whatever they can to try and suppress and stop the rollout of these things. But even the fact that the technology, as much as that might not have hit us, the information is getting out there, and not just about the information of the tech, but also the information of the ancient information that has been also suppressed by the Vatican Church, and how big pharma and places like WHO have used their sorcery and magic, so to speak, of mixing of illicit components to create their drugs to keep us dependent or sick, as such, to keep us away from these natural healing remedies that have been in existence since the beginning of time.
Yeah, and
the ancients knew about this, so I dare say, it's only a matter of time. Seeing as we know the information about this grounding as such, for example, this wasn't known about relatively 10, 20 years ago. So in saying that, I mean, how long is it going to be now before we see, probably the med beds hitting the rollout? It could be 2 years, 5 years. At the end of the day, I have no time that I can put on it myself, but all I know is that
that's the thing. We've got to build them. We have to build them. There's only a certain amount of them apparently that are here, and we've been given the technology and the plans to build them. The biggest problem that I've always foreseen with med beds is demand, and they do not have the stock to satisfy the demand. And if you release something like a med bed into a community, you will have family members killing other people to get their family member to the head of the queue to save their life. People do amazing and horrendous things when faced with the end of their lives, and their families too. If there is a cure, and who wouldn't do whatever it took to save a family member, a child with cancer or whatever, and you get told by a bureaucrat, no, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait 3 weeks or 3 months or 30 years because we've only got one machine and that's the line ahead of you. So they can't release the medbed technology until we are in a position where people who require medbed technology can be seen in a reasonably speedy manner. And that means we have to be building them. They have to be built somewhere and they have to be shipped.
To a degree, you're right there, Carl, on a big scale there. There is one group, but in the world that's in Iran, I believe, by the name of the Kesh Foundation or the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Group. Dr. Kesh has actually been working on these medbed pods, one of 4 that have been designed by different groups. This is just one design, but he's been basically rolling these out on mass scale, from what I understand. So whether he's part of the plan, so to speak, for the rollout, and also we need to also take into consideration as well the SSP groups that have been in operation for 70 years. Okay, now these groups are working and in operation currently still now. Okay, right now above us, and they have technology that's far beyond these med beds than what we've got here now. So when this is all released, you've also got to consider the fact that their technologies they'll be bringing back here when that is disclosed on a public scale as well. So between Mr. Kesh and the fact that we've also got to build some of this infrastructure as well, and what is also above us and has been in current operation for 70 years, and they've been gradually evolving these technologies as well. I mean, even in plain sight on our TV shows, Star Trek, for example, perfect example of that. Medbed technologies there, quantum teleportation, all of that. Yeah.
But for a lot of requests for you to hold that book up again. People missed that title.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Feel better, sleep better, and look better.
And it's
the gun.
I guess
gunshots going off in the background.
Oh my God!
Gunshots.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Wow.
How close? That sounds like it's coming from upstairs.
No, not here. That's definitely up the street near the main five ways.
Oh, wow.
Whether it's fireworks or not, I didn't hear the crackling that comes after with the boom, which is usually what sounds like fireworks, but that sounded like gunshots to me. There was like 12 of them.
Yeah.
A whole magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's barefoothealing.com.au.
1300-earthing or barefoothealing.com.au. Excellent. There'll be lots of folks who'll be happy to get that.
Or some of you can actually go and have a look at Mr. Clint Ober as well from what's the website? Just go and actually Google or use DuckDuckGo and just type in Clint Ober. That's OBER. Okay, and Clint Ober is actually the head of the Earthing Association in North America. Okay, and he and Zappy Zappelin were the gentleman that basically worked together on that grounded documentary that we've all seen. So,
right.
Yeah. Remember in the documentary how they had that seminar where there was 1,000 people and they said they're going to hook everyone up to the earthing mats that were in front of them? Well, Clint Ober was the designer of that. And he was the one that basically came in and did that presentation that night for those 1,000 people. And every one of them all came back. 1,000, including children, said they all felt different after 1 hour of grounding.
Wow. Brilliant. Well, we will have to get in and do a little bit of thing on grounding, I think. JJ, which was the best water with no graphite? The best water that I tested was, if you're going to a servo, Coolridge water had the least amount of any bad stuff in it, and also the least amount of other natural minerals in the water. Pump.
You'd say there was yellow or something in it.
Yeah. So when you when you go through those waters, those company provided filtered waters, they have gone through, I think, an electrolysis process where anything that was in the water has been split out of it, and it really does only hold what natural mineral you would expect to come out of the ground from the water coming out of a spring, for instance. And it's very easily identified. It's red or it's yellow or orange. It's it looks like a mineral, and to be honest, when you get a lot of it, it just looks like the outback, the red dirt of the outback, the ore color, if you like. Everything else developed black or grey, large amounts of black or grey shit in it, which sunk to the bottom, indicating that it was a heavy metal or heavy metals, and then the natural minerals, if you like, would sit on top. So the scary thing for me was exactly what Bradford found. When you filter your water, you expect it to be clean. And, I'd only done a video on how to make a water filter and using a ceramic filter. So it's a really good quality ceramic filter. And I tested that water as well as the tap water that I had used to put through the filter. So I tested the unfiltered and the filtered, and I got the same amount of black shit out of both of them. Wow. So yes, the filtered water didn't have any fluoride in it, didn't have any chlorine in it, didn't have any of those other things in it. But what the filters, and it doesn't matter how good your filter is, unless it cracks the water molecule, it is not going to get this black shit out of the water or let you see it. So I'm still working on the video, on the videos that I shot with that. So I'll endeavour to get that up in the next week or so. You'll see how this stuff sinks to the bottom, if you like, after we've turned the electrolyzers off. And it takes hours, 4 or 5 hours. And in fact, the clearest water was about 12 hours later, where everything had sunk and settled. And you can see the heavy metals, the not so heavy, the less heavy, and then the natural minerals on top. It just settles in layers. It's quite amazing. When you scrape this stuff out, and I did this with you yesterday or the day before, Bradford, I showed you a bit of it. We scraped out the tiniest little bit, looked like a bit of dust. And then I crushed that and it got tinier and tinier and tinier again. And then we took a photo of that and then blew that photo up just to see what else we could see. Did you see the end of it?
It was like a particle, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
smaller.
That's incredible.
Yeah, smaller and smaller and smaller bits and while you might think, oh, they're just an individual particle of dust, they're not, because you run a magnet over it and it'll pick them up.
Yep.
So yeah,
it's proof in the pudding as to how much our planet's been poisoned. Hey,
it is. Yep, 100%. I'm really glad that we've invited Mark along tonight so he can eat
so he can watch me.
I've got a full plate of cold bloody, what I call scrambled eggs here, mate.
Well, listen, I reckon that's gotta eat, and I haven't. So we've nearly done an hour and a half. So I reckon that's a hint. You guys are hungry, and not that I'm going to fade away, but I wouldn't mind something today. The Wagga and back. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. We're going to have it live tomorrow, folks. We'll be out and about in Canberra somewhere special. And yes, we'll be catching up with some special people. So looking forward to that. Thank you to everybody who's been on the show tonight. Chris, an absolute godsend to have you in tonight. Thanks for jumping in. And I look forward to seeing you next week when I'm back up in Queensland. And Marcus, thank you, mate. Look forward to seeing you and maybe getting more out of you than, a really happy smile and a good look at how you eat your food.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get on before dinner time. Okay. Every time you guys send me the link, I think I've just got to the shops. I'm like,
Can I ask if you were wearing your hair like that in the shops?
No, I've got my headphones on. So.
Oh, it's your headphones.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were just trying to keep it out of your feed.
Look like You look like
I didn't
Christopher.
want to. Yeah, he's an interesting looking cat, isn't he?
Oh,
You
mate.
do have a touch of the Christopher Walkens about you like that, I've got to say.
Yeah.
In Click.
Yeah, I thought I should put my headphones on and I'll wake my girlfriend up, and then she'll yell at me. She's got to get up real early again.
She works hard, mate. What, you got her on the mower again in the morning, have you?
No. She'll be working hard managing the stores that she manages.
Yes, being a very manageable manager, she's very good at that.
That's it.
All right. Cheers, brother. Good to see you.
Cheers, boys. Talk to you.
Bye, mate. And
Yeah,
and B1, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, will do, mate. Sweet dreams.
Thank you very much for your love, involvement, and assistance over the last few days. And tomorrow we'll put it all together and make it work.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that, should I? I shouldn't have said that. No. All right. Have a good night, bro. See
See you later. Bye.
Oh, lovely. And Jay, thank you very much for your sticker. Thanks. I really appreciate that on a Friday night. All good. Thank you to the Aussie Cossacks moderator who passed along the message to the Cossack that I'd been sending him emails and he hadn't been replying. He sent me an email this morning. He said, I haven't seen your emails. So that's the last message I got. But I don't know. We'll find out. I'll send him a message and see whether or not he wants to come on the show next week, or if he's able to come on the show next week. We'll see if we can get him on for a chat, find out what's going on in the world of the Aussie Cossack. As I said, tomorrow is going to be a bit of a special day. We're going to play with some of the new equipment, and depending on the day, if it's raining, then obviously we're not going to take out all the new equipment, but we will have the ability to go and do a live show from wherever we happen to be in Canberra tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to bringing a few guests to you from wherever it's going to be. Can't tell you where it's going to be just yet. So, it's sort of secret squirrely. Sunflower, thank you very much for everything. Sandra, lovely to have you as part of the show. John, awesome to have you guys join us again. Shez, Chu, Peg, and Peggy Sue. I don't know. You're a dangerous one, Peggy Sue. Somebody's going to come for you one day in the moderator's room, I reckon. Aaron, I didn't say hi to you earlier. G'day, and hope you're well. Russ, lovely to see you. Thank you to our international guests, wherever you're from. America, from the UK, from Ireland. And I've got friends in Germany who are watching tonight too. So hello to Dirk and Co. Hope you're having a lovely night. And have a beer for me. That'll work out nicely. Have a great time. It is the weekend, folks. If you are going to be out on the roads, be careful. There are plenty of dickheads out there. Just make sure you're not one of them.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!